great pleasure.
Prof, there is this new project that you are currently engaging in called the New Tribe. Now, for those who may not know actually what that entails, please could you walk us through what the New Tribe project is?
Well, thank you so much. When some of us were getting our formation as young people, character building and all of that, we learned that the unexamined life is not worth living. Now, if you're doing something and it's not quite working, you've got to ask yourself, why is it not working? The Nigeria project has involved a lot of passion and work from many patriots through the years. But anybody who is discerning can tell that Nigeria is not where it should be. So the question is, why is it not working? Well, from my own personal work as a researcher, a social scientist, and all of that, I began to question what happened to the Nigeria project. Two important things, I think, if you look at how human progress has been assessed. One is that values matter. Values shape human progress. If you look at Nigeria, you'll see a collapse of culture, a crisis of values. So you have to recognize that to do something about Nigeria, you'll have to engage the values problem. Second thing that historians, economists, political scientists, and all have come to some consensus around is that institutions have separated the countries that have done well from the ones that have not done well. If you compare United States of America and Argentina, for example, same level of development in the 1920s to what they are today, you see the role that institutions play in separating performance. So it seemed to us that we needed to rebuild Nigeria from looking at the values of the society. So this led to the idea of a new tribe. Tribe being a group of people who share certain things and consciously reject those who don't have those same things. And so we thought that if we build a citizens movement in which the only thing that mattered was passionate commitment to good, dignity of the human person, personal integrity, believe in merit, believe in inclusion. We sing, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Do we really live it? Well, we want people who live it to come together into one huge social movement. And with these new values that can promote progress, a politics that is aligned to it will then help Nigeria get somewhere. So we began this New Tribe project, launched the portal, the newtribe.ng, on the 1st of May, with the plan to formally inaugurate the New Tribe on the 1st of October. But the New Tribe went to work building on cohorts. The way it's organized is that there are 14 intervention cohorts and 7 organizing cohorts. What do the intervention cohorts do? They are, for example, on healthcare, election reforms, infrastructure, education, skills development, and so on and so forth. Now, each of the cohorts will have its base, people who say, this is where I want to make my contribution to my country. That base is called the Congress, the National Congress. Nigerians anywhere in the world can become members. They just go to the web portal of the New Tribe.ng and begin to engage. You can choose any of, there's a second platform, assemble.com, where the groups can be debating issues around Nigeria. Now, the next level of leadership of this broad Congress is a 14-person leadership council, as we call it. Then out of this 14 leadership council, we have 6 people who we call co-chairs. And part of the reason for the organizational structure is to build a culture of collegial leadership. These 6 coach chairs then have a coordinator, and they organize the work of each cohort. One of the most active cohorts so far is the healthcare cohort. The 6 people at the top of this cohort is chaired by an Atlanta-based cardiologist, Dr. Abiodun Olatidoye, with Dr. Acho Emeruwa, Dr. Loretta Aboroko here in the UK, Dr. Zainab Bagudu in Abuja, Zarau Ibrahim, who is a well-regarded nurse practitioner out of Kano, and a pharmacist, Dr. Tonya Obanufe, who is in Florida. These are the 6 co-chairs. But in this 14 member council is a doctor from Charlotte who has responded to what they were doing, Dr. Ben Okwara, and has already established in Nigeria a call center hiring nurses and all kinds of professionals who in Nigeria, staying there in Nigeria, through the call center, provide services to doctors, clinics in America. They already have hired more than 100 people. By next year, there'll be more than 1,000 people in this call center, creating jobs in Nigeria. So the intervention has been like with direct immediate results. What are the people in the healthcare cohort? If I can just focus on them, for example, planning. There have been a number of initiatives to use telemedicine, recruiting Nigerian doctors all over the world who will say give 2-3 hours of their time every week available for consulting free of charge. People in rural areas, the doctors on ground will reach the base. They will come, they will consult with these doctors, they will get prescriptions, whatever needs to be done, they will program all of that, diagnostics, all of it, and take it from there. Another initiative out of them is education. Health education is the prime, the key. Many people don't know what to do. They don't know what tests to take, at what age, what diseases. A huge campaign of education on health-based issues is really at the heart of the work of the healthcare cohort of the new tribe. And they are planning a massive, massive one. Also critical to what they're planning to do is, look, a lot of Nigerian doctors go on medical missions.
Yeah.
It's episodic. They arrive, you are lucky, you run into them, you have this surgery. There's no continuity, no follow-up. They plan to structure medical missions so that it can have that element of continuity and support, care support for people who have come through their programs. Then they have initiatives and activities which are actually to offer Nigerians who can afford it, but who presently have to go on medical tourism. Now you have some of the biggest issues that we have now are non-communicable diseases. It used to be that the disease burden that bothered people so much about Africa was the communicable disease problems, cholera, and so on and so forth. Today, more of our people are dying from non-communicable diseases like diabetes, like cancer. In fact, genetic studies suggest that West Africans have the highest propensity to cancer, perhaps in the world. And yet, the kinds of equipment, cyclotron and machines that produce the input into PET CT and all those things they use in nuclear medicine around that area, there's not in the entire West Africa. There's one in Kenya, a couple in South Africa, then a lot more in North Africa. So the nature of the intervention would be to facilitate those possibilities. And so in rotation, a group of them will come for like a month, another replaces them, and give in Nigeria world-class care to people who need that kind of care right there in Nigeria, supported by their colleagues abroad with telemedicine connections and all of that, so that those Nigerians don't fly to Egypt or to India or come here to London or to the US to get the care that they deserve. Even just the savings in flight ticket just changes the economics of it all, besides the good that it does, creating jobs, creating learning back in the country. So that cohort has been a remarkable cohort. But the first thing that we are going very public with beyond the work of these cohorts, and I can talk about the infrastructure cohort and other cohorts that have been working very hard already, is the Motherland, the State of the Motherland report. Our plan is to issue a State of the Nation report every 4 months, and we'll call this the State of the Motherland report. This interview is the formal launch of the State of the Motherland report. We are releasing from London today, the 26th of August, the State of the Motherland report that goes into detailed analysis of the fraud that the Nigerian government has committed with the so-called superhighways project, analyzing the so-called Lagos Calabar project and all of that, goes through several policy issues, food insecurity, the failure of how the government has tried to attack the problem, and giving them alternatives of how they could solve the problem. So we're not just people who talk, we'll give you alternatives, give you solutions. Yeah. So we've done this in this long report, but we'll reduce the report to a summary, an executive summary, which I have issued this morning, and the main report, which will be on the website by tonight, of thenewtribe.ng.
Okay, so Prof, let me come back to this report in question here. In this State of the Motherland report, there is a significant highlight on the financial mismanagement of the superhighway project. How does the new tribe plan to hold the government accountable for these findings, and what actions do you recommend to rectify this issue raised in this report?
The American way says that the biggest input you can make is sunlight. When you shine light on wrong, you've solved 80% of the problem. So we show with clear analysis what was wrong with that. It gets into the public domain. People will now know what the game was that was played there. Second bit, we have a public accountability cohort. It's led by very serious journalists like Ijoma, Mogugu, and co. Their business is to then run a series of newspaper articles highlighting what went wrong with those projects. So more sunlight. Third, we have within the public accountability cohort a group of lawyers who will now go to court demanding that restitution be done to the Nigerian people for the abuses by the state. So these are the series of actions that we are taking to ensure that the Nigerian people get a fair shake for their money. Look, even things that you might not call outright fraud, like buying yachts, buying fancy presidential jets when people are starving, these are moral issues that need to be taken out there and be used as a basis to even protest. Talking about protests, the real protests haven't started. It will start on each of these issues. Why did you buy that aeroplane when we are starving? It's a moral issue. Believe me, many people are pretending and taking neutral. Oh, well, no. Dante's Inferno says that in the face of a moral crisis, the hottest part of hell is reserved for those who take refuge in neutrality. And I want to take the opportunity to remind people, a lot of my friends who I thought were really citizens have disappointed me by pretending like, oh, well, just leave this, leave that. Look, Reverend Martin Niemöller reminds us from Germany, this priest of the Lutheran Church. At first, he was enamored of Nazi ideas. Then he realized something's wrong with these things. And then Nazis turned on him. Throughout the war, he was in concentration camps, detention places, and all of that. At the end of the war, Reverend Niemöller said, first they came for the socialists. And I did not speak up because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak up. Then they came for this, they came for that. Finally, when they came for me, there was no one left to speak up. Those who are pretending today in Nigeria that we're not going through creeping fascism, which is what I wrote about 6 years ago. I saw this clearly in the book that I have right here. Why not? Citizenship, state capture, creeping fascism, and the criminal hijack of politics in Nigeria. That's a book I wrote 6 years ago because I saw today. I saw it coming and I wanted to alert Nigerians. And now we've reached it.
The State of the Motherland report highlights, or rather, in that report, it advocates for a transition to a 24-hour economy and the introduction of hourly wages. What challenges do you anticipate in implementing these changes? And how do you propose to overcoming the political resistance, obviously, that will come with it?
Well, I don't know that you probably will be as much of political resistance as the fact that people don't really realize its possibilities. Um, an economy that has managed to reduce itself to 8 to 5 hours of sunlight cannot compete with one that is running 24 hours. And that people in Nigeria 30, 40 years ago, all those factories in Kakuri, in Kaduna, in Enugu, all these places, they had 3 shifts. People come, one set start at 8 in the morning, finish at maybe 4. Another set starts at 5, runs till about 8 p.m. at the night. Obviously, more people are employed in that kind of economy. Obviously, output will be higher in that kind of economy, and so on and so forth. But what has happened is that because of insecurity, largely, because we allowed Dutch disease in mismanaging the oil economy to drive manufacturing down and out, because we managed to allow several sectors of the economy to literally collapse because of bad trade policy, we don't have enough work to even do. But if the facilities of security are there, we light up the country. We have an initiative we call Light Up Nigeria. Because a good part of the crime in Nigeria is because there's no light. If we light up the country and people know they can go out, then the night economy resumes and more people will get employed, output will increase, the quality of life will improve. So the biggest challenge to 24-hour economy is actually security and light, which are related. And we plan to implement it through the work that as private or civil society initiatives or a combination of both, we can put in place. Even if the government doesn't know what it is doing, we can help bring about a night economy in Nigeria and have a 24-hour economy.
The report also emphasizes the revitalization of values as crucial for Nigerian progress.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate on the specific steps the new tribe will take to instill these values, particularly maybe through education and public reorientation?
That is the first education, public reorientation, so important. Then celebrating people who do right. Once people do right by those values, we celebrate them. And people who do wrong, we call them out. I mean, look at where we've reached in Nigeria. People who have been governors wake up in the morning and tell blatant lies about people who are alive, things that never could happen. And I'm not sure I've given an example. One former governor said that his state blacklisted me, the state assembly. The only thing I ever had to do with the state is drive through it, passing up till that point. Where did I get to interact with them for them to blacklist me? But the man knows that Nigeria, you can get away with anything. So he says it. We must call out people who do things like that. Professional associations, where you're an accountant, you're misbehaving. Your professional association has a duty to call you out. You're a lawyer, you're misbehaving. Your professional association has a duty to call you out. Those are some of the steps we'll use to restore trust in society. And once we can build back trust, we can begin to make progress. Huge, massive proselytization of the place of values in human progress is a part of the deal of the new tribe.
Okay. Now you know, let me digress a little bit. In your example now, you talked about how a governor lied against you. And we also know that a senior special assistant to the president on strategic communication also lied against you, that you were the one of those behind to take over government via protest. And you came out to say that you're going to sue him for 50 billion, I believe.
500 billion.
500 billion, right? Yes. And so many of us, myself included, we've been waiting to see the court document when he goes to court, because in that letter you said unless he apologizes. Has he apologized to you?
No, he has not. And Mike Zekome, senior advocate of Nigeria, has the brief. I'm waiting for Mike to tell me where he is on the prosecution of the matter.
But since then, since after that incident, a little bit digress here, it appears that this constant name calling, you and Peter Obi appears to have disappeared. Do you think your letter did the magic?
I hope it did. I hope it did.
Okay. Yeah. So let's come back to this report that you're releasing tonight, Prof. Considering the new tribe focuses more on health reform, how do you intend to leverage the experience and the contributions of the Nigerian diaspora to strengthen the healthcare system in the country?
Anyway, it's so important to make the point about the place of the diaspora in the Nigeria redemption. Besides the fact that historic facts suggest that 20th century, many of the countries that made significant progress piggybacked on diaspora engagement, beginning with Japan and the Meiji Restoration, and how the Japanese diaspora, majorly in Germany, began to influence Japan's attitude to technology and created a new Japan. Then progressing to India rising, China rising, the place of the diaspora in all of this. So when you then transplant that to today's reality in medicine, where it is said that about 70% of all the black doctors in America are Nigerian.
70%?
70. It's as amazing as that. Where in one conversation I was in just last week in Washington, the pharmacist, the gentleman who leads the Nigerian Pharmacists Association, was saying that 10% of all the pharmacists in the state of Maryland are Nigerian. And then you can go on and see that most of Nigeria's human capital is actually abroad. But we can approach it negatively and say we have capital flight, or positively by saying this capital can make impact in Nigeria and help revitalize Nigeria. And nowhere is that so obvious as the work that I have seen so far from the New Tribe Healthcare cohort. I'm listening on their conversations and all of that, and I'm just blown away by the things I hear them planning to do. I have no doubt in my mind that some of these interventions through telemedicine, through organizing education programs, through actual missions that are then coordinated and all of that, will have tremendous impact in healthcare in Nigeria. And you know that the future of any country is based very much on education and healthcare. You know, Angus Deaton, the Princeton University economist who won the 2014 or 15 Nobel Prize in economics, his book, The Great Escape, Health, Wealth, and the Origins of Inequality, just puts it out there. Healthcare is so central to progress. And if we can manage through the work of the Nigerian diaspora, the healthcare cohorts, to impact health in Nigeria significantly, would have made a milestone contribution to the Nigerian redemption.
Okay, finally on this report, let me recap here and ask you, what exactly are the motivations that led to the new tribe to be launched, as a social movement at this time in our nation's history?
Some of us have especially spent our entire adult life trying to see if we can build a nation that works sacrificially. I like to remind people that I remembered my 18th birthday in a very awkward way at 8:30 p.m. on that day, because at the UNN, a group of us against the majority had been planning a social rising to show solidarity with universities elsewhere in Nigeria that were now being shut down because of demonstrations on the Adekweju killing at the memorial at the Adekweju. And we finally got the attention of our vice chancellor at that time, Professor Kodlinye, and he allowed us as a protest group to hold a campus-wide rally, Margaret Ekpo Ref. And somebody, a certain chairman, Pinnick, was speaking that night and said, today, the 6th of February, 1974, will be remembered as a day when those who were physically demobilized after the war were finally mentally demobilized. Your students think, oh, and I said, oh my God, it's my birthday. That's the kind of passion that I have had for changing society for 50 years. And in looking at our country, it was getting worse. The harder we tried, the worse it got. And I was like, should we just give up? Then I put on my social scientist hat and said, what are the reasons making Nigeria work have not worked? And I hit on the fact of values and the fact of institutions. This led to how can we now do it? And the product is the new tribe.
So over the years, you haven't given up.
No,
you believe sincerely that the new tribe will go do the magic. I mean, following your trajectory, you've tried it through the political parties. At one point, you founded a political party. Even in the last election, you gave up your ambition for Mr. Obi and co. So you've obviously, that political route appeared not to have worked. So you think this new tribe will be the game changer?
That is very true. I mean, see, for example, I've tried to make a point throughout my career that it's not about me. Which is why people say, why do you always give up for somebody else or something? No. It's important to communicate to Nigerians that it's not about you. It's about us. The whole Ubuntu concept. I am because we are. And each time you try that, people say, this man self doesn't know how to take care of himself. That's how they used to tell my wife in the early days. This is your husband. You will just board last, though. The man is there trying to make the place better. People are getting rich. I can even tell you an example. When Bola Tinubu became governor of Lagos, I was playing a supporting role, running retreats free of charge for the government of Lagos. Retreats I was charging companies 20 million for. I would do it free for Lagos. And he gave me a nickname, Citizen. That's what they call. So one of my old boys, I went to school in Ibadan, Loyola College. One of my Loyola old boys who was in the government one day said to me in Yoruba, "Your boy, or Denier, Uncle Oje, you want a citizen?" Meaning you this boy, you are a fool. People are chopping money. You are doing citizen. But I didn't mind. Like I said, Yemi Cardoso will recall this because Yemi Cardoso was my liaison person. He was the commissioner, the current central bank governor, commissioner for budget and planning. And he spent a lot of time in my office. Most of the plans executed. Yemi will come to my office in Lagos Business School and we'll sit and plan, work, go to Washington, talk to World Bank people, do this, do that, all from my pocket. You will not see anywhere where Lagos State paid me any money for all the work I did. I remember the late Rashid Baramasi one day came in. I was chairing some session with the World Bank people at the Sheraton on urban slums. And he came to me, hey, Abro, you won't get tired in this work. So why was I, like I was saying, I did a retreat one weekend for the massa, was a client, paid me 20 something million. The following weekend, I did one for one bank, as Yemi Cardoso also knows. They paid me 20 something million. Following weekend, I did exactly the same thing with Lagos State government. Didn't charge a couple. Am I stupid? So people used to laugh at my wife. And I used to tell my wife a story about a certain physicist, chemist, who worked so hard, was in the lab from morning till night, and people used to mock him, mock his wife. They were sharing one old Volvo sedan station wagon. And then one day the man won the Nobel Prize. And then after that, you call him to say good morning, you pay $50,000. So I said to her, it's about delayed gratification. Thank God that God gave me a good wife who came to an understanding of that. Because when I hear people look at where I have been and say, this man must have made a lot of money. When I left Volkswagen of Nigeria, we had played a chief executive role. I couldn't afford a 17 kVA generator to the place I moved to. That's how broke I was at the time I was leaving the place. I actually ordered one from a finance house to give me hire purchase, arrangement. And they delivered the thing. And then I asked them, where are the papers to pay? The MD of the company said he was shocked to realize that I couldn't afford a 17 kVA generator. And that is his own contribution to my retirement. So, but from afar, people have all kinds of imaginations. But what has happened? Show me one of those people who have better educated their children than I have. The only thing that has limited the quality or state of any university or school that my children have gone to have been the ability to get in. All who could, Ivy League, nowhere got in. God somehow was able to continue to provide. So I want to put it to those people who are driven by this, acquisition tendency. That, look, you're not better off in the end than the person who plays by the rules.
Thank you very much, Prof.